If you are familiar with the black metal genre, you've heard of the band Mayhem. You know, the one where this guy stabbed this guy 23 times in his apartment as he ran away. If you want to believe that stupid Lords of Chaos movie. But what if I told you there is another black metal band that may have an equally as dark history? But first, let's go back to the early 1990s. Black metal was just kicking off, with bands like Mayhem, Bathory, Emperor, and Celtic Frost making a name for themselves in the extreme metal scene. But there was another more underground subculture of black metal that was also arriving, NSBM. NSBM, short for National Socialistic Black Metal, is a political movement of sorts within the metal scene that promotes neo-Nazism and white supremacist ideology. Fun stuff, I know. But anyways, this movement typically associated paganism and anti-Christianity in their lyrical themes and despised religion, especially Islam and Christianity. And at the forefront of this movement was the band Absurd, which is the topic of today's video. Absurd was founded in Germany in 1992 by Hendrik, Mobus, Sebastian Shaw-Seal, and later joined by a third member named Andreas Kirchner. I know I probably botched a couple of those names. Absurd utilizes nationalistic, pagan, and anti-Judeo-Christian themology in their lyrics, which is your standard for NSBM. Apart from their radical views, though, what the band is most remembered for is murder! Yep, murder. When the band formed, all the members were young, in their teens, and they were all still in school. Being in a band during your high school years is of course going to attract some fans. Around 1993, 15-year-old Sandro Beyer became obsessed with the band, and he would frequently hang around Mobus and his friends, even though they despised him, referring to him as a poser. Eventually, Beyer did decide to leave the bandmates alone, but in return, he began to slander them for their satanic beliefs. Beyer eventually drew the line, and threatened to expose an affair that one of the band members was having. Hendrik Mobus did not quite like this, and decided it was time for Sandro Beyer to go away for good. Hendrik laid out a plan to kill Beyer by using his own girlfriend to trick Beyer into thinking she was on his side. She used this false trust to lure Beyer into a cabin in the woods where Mobus and his friends were hiding, ready to strike. When Beyer stepped inside of the cabin at roughly 8 p.m., he was strangled with an electrical cord while Mobus stabbed him in the chest with a knife. At this point, Beyer was still alive and begging to be let go, but the band members feared he would report them to the authorities. Mobus tied him to a chair, while the others continued to strangle him with the electrical cord until he finally died. For the murder, Hendrik Mobus was sentenced to 8 years in a juvenile facility where he was able to continue producing music for Absurd. The other band members were released on parole in 2008. I do think 8 years for murder is a rather light sentence, but I don't know anything about Germany's judicial system, so who am I to say? Anyways, after Mobus was released, he decided to violate the terms of his parole by mocking the deceased Beyer and even giving Nazi salutes. He even went as far as to pose with Nazi banners inside the gas chambers at the Auschwitz death camp facility. What a stand-up guy. Mobus managed to escape to America, meeting up with William Luther Pierce, a prestigious white supremacist at the forefront of the white nationalistic movement. Pierce harbored Mobus for 10 weeks, not aware that he was an international fugitive. However, after disputes about money with his contacts, Mobus was eventually arrested in West Virginia on March 5th of 2001 and denied political asylum. Mobus was subsequently deported back to Germany, where he served the last 3 years of his sentence in addition to an extra 3 years for the mockery of Sandro Beyer. On May 15, 2003, he was sentenced to another 4 years for the 1993 murder. He would have already been out by this point if he wasn't such a dumbass. Eventually, Mobus was finally released, and he created his own music label called Darker Than Black Records, which is a distributor for albums for NSBM bands like Blood Word, Nocturnal Werewolf, Spirit of War, and Aryan Blood. I don't know any of those, but those were the first couple ones that came up when I looked up NSBM. He also set up his own music shop, which was targeted by the Anti-Fascist Action in Germany organization in 2014. And well, for the other original band members, Shaw-Seal is still involved in underground metal, playing in the band Wolfman, and Andreas Kirchner's status appears to be unknown currently. according to Metal Archive. Well, that's the story of Absurd, a band whose legacy will likely be remembered as teenagers killing teenagers and Nazism.